Immigration is tearing this country apart. And the system is broken. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button down there. I'd love to hear from you. This is William Minnie here, 1799. Glad you could come around. This is interesting. Thing is, what do we define as broken? What is broken? Well, if we talk about what is broken, we can consistently look at something a little bit differently, right? We talk about a board that's broken. We talk about a switch that's not working, but that's broken, right? A motor doesn't work, that's broken correctly. Anything that looks like it's broken, it's not working, is considered broken. But suppose, when we look at the law part of this thing, which is what the Constitution and immigration is about, right? How does that work as considered broken? It's a law. You can't break the law. You can ignore the law. How is that considered broken? See, that's the problem. You got a lot of these people who support the Democrat Party, stand behind the podium here with their $300-$400 suits on or fancy dresses on. They're commentators and or whatever you want to call these people, and they turn around and tell you, "Oh, the system is broken. We need to get rid of ICE. We need to get rid of immigration. The system is broken." Yeah, right. It's not broken. It's just ignorance of the law. That's the problem here. Ignorance of the law. Democrats don't believe in the law. They don't believe in the Constitution. They hate it. They hate Trump. They hate the Second Amendment. They hate the First Amendment. They hate the Bill of Rights. And yet people still vote these bastards in. After they learn, they stick it up their butt every time. Democrats talk about violence and threats and push for more violence, get physical. Oh, okay. Yeah. But when they're called out on it, oh, wait a minute, I got this pin on my lapel here. Yeah, I'm a congressman or I'm a senator. Yeah, you can't touch me. But they can call the threats they want. Yeah. There's a point to all of this, and this is how this sort of gets kind of weird when you look at this right way or wrong way, how you want to look at it. The Democrats are getting physical now. They're using their base for physical violence. They're using Antifa, the little army that they have, to incite more physical violence. This is nothing new here. We've been experiencing this quite long. But we understand the Democrats' lies, and it's interesting too. The same bunch of Democrats who sit there said that Russia collusion, Mueller report, Ukraine phone call, January 6th, real estate court, that prosecutor down there in Florida with Mar-a-Lago, all congregated in Washington, including Georgia, by the way, all congregated in Washington to talk to the White House as how can we get Trump. Yeah. How can we destroy Trump? How can we get rid of him? He's a racist, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, he's Gestapo, he's everything. He's going to destroy this country. When in actuality, it's them who are destroying this country. Them themselves. Because they refuse to listen. Because I believe when the first Trump presidency started, something happened. I believe that the Democrats were on this road trip for quite a long time, and they're on a time limit here. When Trump got into office, they destroyed that timeline. Now, when Biden got in, it's weird how they got him in there. It was just a mindless automaton. It gave them time to hopefully they could speed things up and change the geographics of this country around. That's why they didn't want the border closed. That's why they had no problem letting drugs and weapons come in this country to kill American citizens. But we want the illegals to become American citizens. We'll give them driver's licenses, CDLs. We're going to turn around and allow them to have all the free reign they want. Strange as it may seem. Very, very strange. This whole damn thing opens a can of worms. Now this Epstein thing comes around. And Democrats are trying to play on that like they did a Russia collusion, Mueller report, and Ukraine for play the same game that they played before. That's all it is. They want to protect the saturated states, the saturated cities, but they don't want to let go federal funding, our tax dollars. They have no problem, taking away your Second Amendment rights and controlling your First Amendment rights and put all these red flag laws on you. They have no problem with that. They don't have no problem destroying the Supreme Court. Or they allow these saturated states or blue states and their governors and AGs put their friends in these in robes and behind these benches and say, now you're judges. You work for us now. So when anything comes by, just act like you don't know nothing or it doesn't make sense, or just put it in our ballpark. And they do it. They do everything they can to stop it. The lower courts do everything they can to undermine the Trump administration, to either to financial or getting rid of people or whatever it may be, even immigration. But the sad part about it is, there are other courts called immigration courts that give these people the paperwork to go after these people. That's how come they know where they're at. So if immigration courts are handing Kristen Noem and the ICE people, here is a list of people you can go after. But these governors and these mayors are going to fight ICE. Instead, why aren't they fighting the judges? They're Democrat and they're Republican. But you won't hear a Democrat talk about that. Oh no, hell no. They're worried more about stripping you of your constitutional rights, your gun laws. They have no problem putting criminals back on the street. They have no problem with all this violence that they created. And they want to make sure that they're little angels? No. Our rights and our freedoms are under a great, great strain right now. These politicians got to gain up their sleeve. Their objective is to use as much physical violence as it can get. Because they know that there's nothing that's going to touch these people. They can threaten anybody. They can send their little boys out there to harass people, to harass voters, to force voters to change their mind, attack people, and people will say, you know what, okay, I'll vote Democrat. Just don't hurt me. Yeah, something needs to be done. If there is a rule of law, then it needs to be addressed. The Constitution is very clear on how to deal with these problems. The problem with Democrats, they don't understand that we the people are the true government of this nation, and they are representatives of this nation. But we want to divide everybody up so there's not we the people anymore. It's about the tribes, and we want to take the tribes out little bit by little bit. Force them to our way. That's why I said before, we need to get rid of the Democratic Party. They're already disband them. Outlaw them any way you can. Put another party up there. I don't care what party you put up there, as long as they're not Democrats. And none of them ever served the Democratic Party. Because they shut the government down once. They put all kinds of commercials up there of families hurting because there's no EBT cards and this and that and the other. When actually they made it difficult for Republicans to respond because they're saying we want more money and medical care for illegals. And you know they're not going to do that. That's your tax money, my tax money. So what they did is to play another game. Okay, then we'll keep the government closed. But now they got their judges trying to tell Trump, you need to release money. But the problem comes down to is there's a little twist to that. He can't. And all the reason why he can't is very, very, very simple. The government has to be open in order to release money. If people don't understand what the Constitution is all about, this is what you're dealing with. But they don't want people to learn. They don't want people to understand it. All they want them to learn is communism and socialism. That's it. That's what that's why that's what all this is about. They want to change the geographics of this country. Change our ways of life, our beliefs, everything. And make it everything is white supremacy, but actually it's them are doing it. It's them. And they're already planning to shut the government down again in January. Because they hurt the economy. They know that. That's what they wanted. Now they want to see what the after effects are. They like the after effects. Now they're going to do it again. Shut the government down. Hurt the markets. Hurt everything. Hurt the economy. Drive costs up. And they want to get in office. And yet, they talk about assassinations. They talk about murder. They talk about killing people. This is not a party. This is worse than a mob. A well-organized, well-oiled, well-greased, well-lubed mob. The Democratic mob, that's what they are. They want power, they want control, they want to control the unions, they want to control the teachers, they want to control everything. They want to control your food, they want to control your bank accounts, they want to control and strip you of your constitutional rights. Because you don't have rights. Rights comes from them. They believe that there's no such thing as a God-given right because there's no such thing. It's politicians give rights. We decide what your rights are. That's why they'll never stop. They want to change the Supreme Court. That's why they're waiting for it. That's why they're holding back. If they could change the Supreme Court, everything that was worked hard to get where we're at, they're going to stop it and reverse it. Go right back to worse, affect worse. That's why they didn't want to go and vote on reciprocity. You need two parties in there to vote for reciprocity. But if they vote against it, we still have the margin. We could have voted it in. They don't want that. They want us totally disarmed so Russia and China can walk right in and we won't have a word to say about it. They want to control our industry through Russia and China. We become slaves to foreign governments. And that money will filter right into the Democratic pocket. That's why they don't want history here. People, you need to read, research, look this stuff up. Not hard to do. Or sit on your ass and do nothing. It's your choice. Till then, keep your friends and family close and do not forget to defend yourselves. And we'll see you around, hopefully.